As one of the most polarizing figures in F1, Max Verstappen has as many secret haters as he does fans. But why is the best driver on the grid getting so much hate, and what exactly are his haters saying about him? Max Verstappen's commanding title win last season was exciting for most fans to watch. Everyone was amazed because never before had the world of Formula 1 seen a more ruthless and dominant driver. But as you can imagine, it wasn't an enjoyable watch for the guys at Mercedes. This became apparent after Verstappen won the Italian Grand Prix, which made him the first driver in the history of F1 to win 10 consecutive races. As a result, the Dutch racer received tons of congratulatory messages even from rival teams. And given his reputation as the coolest team principal in the sport, many people expected Toto Wolff to congratulate Verstappen as well. But the Austrian executive didn't do that. Instead, he tried to downplay the achievement. "I don't know if he cares about the records," Wolff said after the race. "It is not something that would be important for me, those numbers. It is for Wikipedia and nobody reads that anyway." Well, we get it. Nobody wants to watch a rival team break such a record. But that comment by Toto Wolff is just ridiculous. It reeks of hate and jealousy. And for all we know, he would have been singing a different tune if the same record was broken by Lewis Hamilton. Speaking of Hamilton, everyone knows he is not best friends with Max Verstappen. However, the hostility between them is so subtle you almost wouldn't notice that it exists. But it actually does, and it's more serious than you think. Ahead of the 2023 Las Vegas Grand Prix, Verstappen complained about the elaborate opening ceremony and other side events that were held before the race. "For me, you can skip all these things. It's not about the singer, it's just standing up there. You look like a clown," the triple world champion said. "It's 99% show and 1% sporting event. Not a lot of emotions, to be honest. I just like to always focus on the performance side of things. I don't like all the things around it anyway. I know, of course, in some places they are part of it, but let's say it's not in my interest." The Red Bull racer also took a jibe at the track, describing it as the National League. But nobody really paid attention to it because we all know Verstappen is the most anti-social driver on the grid, and he tends to rant whenever social activities are mixed with racing events. Anyway, the race started and ended without much controversy, and despite his initial complaints about the track, Verstappen clinched a comfortable victory. However, it was Lewis Hamilton's post-race interview that stole the spotlight. The 7-time world champion started by narrating how much he enjoyed the race, saying, "I really wasn't expecting the track to be so great, but the more and more laps I did, I just really loved racing. Lots of great overtaking opportunities." But in a twinkle of an eye, the context of the conversation took a different turn. "I think for all those who were so negative about the weekend, saying it's all about show, blah blah blah, I think Vegas proved them wrong," Hamilton said. And even though the Mercedes driver didn't mention any specific name, everyone who followed the event knew this subtle dig was aimed at Max Verstappen. Beyond the hate from drivers of other teams, Verstappen has also had to deal with hate from his own teammates. Back in 2017, the Dutch racer was publicly called out by Daniel Ricciardo, who was his teammate at the time. The whole issue started when Max bumped into the Australian driver at Turn 3 in the Hungaroring circuit. As a result of the collision, Ricciardo damaged his side pod and was forced to retire 2 corners later. And understandably, the Australian was enraged. "That was amateur to say the least," Ricciardo told journalists. "It's not like he was trying to pass, there was no room. I don't think he likes when a teammate gets ahead of him. He had the whole race to repair the mistake. The pass wasn't on, it wasn't even a pass." Verstappen took full responsibility for the crash and even offered a public apology in a bid to make amends. "This is not nice, and I apologise to Daniel for that, and also to the team because we could have scored some good points here. I'll speak with Daniel in private and we'll sort it out." At this point, you'd think things were back to normal, but apparently, Daniel Ricciardo never truly forgave Verstappen. Instead, he kept the grudge in his heart and went all out for revenge at the 2018 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. After touching wheels twice during the race, the mood between Max and Ricciardo was already tense, but it wasn't up until lap 40 that things exploded. Ricciardo had made several attempts to overtake Verstappen, but the Dutch driver wouldn't let him pass, and for some reason, the Red Bull team refused to intervene. So the Australian driver took the laws into his own hands. He crashed right into Verstappen, and both drivers were forced to retire. Following a detailed review, it was agreed that the 2 drivers were at fault for the incident. But 1 year later, Ricciardo made some interesting comments that suggest he may have deliberately crashed into Verstappen. "I never really felt the same after that," Ricciardo said. "As soon as I crashed into him, part of me felt, you guys deserve this, that was a shit show." This definitely sounds like sabotage, and it explains why Ricciardo left the team at the end of the season. If you've enjoyed this video thus far, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to enjoy more thrilling videos like this one. As crazy as this might sound, Max Verstappen's current teammate Sergio Perez may also be secretly hating on him. The Mexican racer has been Verstappen's wingman for a while now, and their partnership has been very successful, especially for Verstappen, who has won 3 consecutive F1 titles. But the relationship between them hit a snag at the 2022 Brazilian Grand Prix. Going into that weekend, Verstappen had already secured the title, so it didn't really matter if he won or lost the race. But Sergio Perez, on the other hand, was battling for the second spot in the drivers' standings. During the race, Perez was asked to allow Verstappen through with the promise that the Dutch driver would return the favour if he failed to overtake Fernando Alonso in 5th place. But when Verstappen was asked to fulfil that promise in the final lap, he refused.
You guys don't ask that again to me. Okay? Are we clear about that? I gave my reasons, and I stand by it.
Angered by this incident, Sergio Perez ripped into Max in the post-race interview. "I'm very surprised," the Mexican driver said. "I don't understand his attitude after all I've done for him. If he has 2 championships, it's thanks to me." Everyone seemed to agree that Verstappen should have honoured the agreement like a gentleman. But then again, we all know that sometimes this extreme level of selfishness is what separates great racers from ordinary drivers. Another trait of great drivers is the boldness to speak up when they're dissatisfied about something. We've seen legends like Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton do it at different times in their career. Max Verstappen showed this trait when he publicly criticised the proposed plan to have a 30-race calendar by 2030. "I'm not a fan of it at all. When we do all that kind of stuff, the weekend becomes very intense, and we already do a lot of races," Max said back in April 2023. "We are heading into seasons where we could have 24 or 25 races, and if you start adding more, it is not worth it for me. I will not enjoy that." Verstappen further hinted that he could retire from the sport if plans to expand the F1 calendar are implemented. Surprisingly, this triggered a strong response from Ralf Schumacher, the famous brother of the legendary Michael Schumacher. "The past, the present and the future have shown or will show that Formula One is much bigger than any one individual," the former F1 racer told Sky Sport. Bernie Ecclestone is also gone, and without him, Formula One wouldn't even exist, and yet now it's more successful than ever. So Verstappen should either pack up and leave or just accept it as it is. Let's just say Ralf Schumacher wasn't too happy with Verstappen's retirement threats, which is totally understandable. But everyone knows Max Verstappen is a big asset for F1, and the sport cannot afford to lose him now. If that were to happen, it would be a huge disaster, especially considering the significant progress that we've had in recent years. With that said, who do you think are Verstappen's secret haters? Let us know in the comment section below.